魏红，你上来了？
你听到我说话吗，青朵？
可以听到，很好。
我行哎，还不含糊能上来。那个这 PPT 怎么放啊 ？PPT？
TPP 在那什么里面？在那个，我给你看一下，有一个地方，等一下，我看一下啊，有一个地方是共享屏幕。
你是在 PC 上，我是在手机上。
哦，手机上，
我这里可以，我在电脑上我可以给它共享一下屏幕吗？
对，建东，
你在我这儿。
对，那你可能就对翻给建东嘛，对，
已经在我这儿了。
那就对，那应该对，建东上就可以帮你发啊。
好的，
不得。
好，看到了吗？
哎，可以啊，就是这个。
挺好，看见了。
那我翻篇跟你说翻篇就行了，是不是？请翻页就好了，是不是？
对。
好 De-dollarization from China's perspective， 我的天
De-dollarization
De-dollarization from China's perspective。
不是原来那个题目是说 Has de-dollarization begun？ 现在是直接 from China's perspective 行了是吧？
对，因为我其实不是这个国际政治专家，我只不过是从一个金融机构角度来，或者从经济角度来看待这个 de-dollarization。而且呢或者说从一个这个技术角度来，从金融市场的技术角度来看待这个问题。
是的。
所以我就是谈一些这个 statistics 和这个 technical 的这些 technology financial technology 还有 derivatives 这些事情来说，就是如何对中国来讲，什么是一个最好的一个 de-dollarization。
OK。
我们是开始还是怎样？
我看一下我是怎么着，就我这儿到时间，咱们时间到了咱就开始。
我觉得就是一个。
Okay, how many of us here now? Well, hello and welcome to East-West Bridge Lectures. I'm Qinduo, host of the dialogue show at CGTN. Today we are going to focus on de-dollarization, as you can see from your screen, which is increasingly becoming the mainstream from previously, obviously, a call by a few countries, usually sanctioned by the United States. We are very honored to have Vincent Weihong, Deputy CEO, Yongxing Securities, China. The title of his lectures is, I think previously, as we in our provisional pictures, as seen, has de-dollarization begun from China's perspective? I think that's interesting. How do Chinese or do the Chinese side see this process? And also, we are privileged to have Einar Tangen, an independent current affairs commentator, to provide his analysis and comments at the end of the Weihong's lecture. So without further ado, let's have Weihong. Weihong, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Qinduo. Good night, everybody. And this is really my pleasure to be here to talk about this very hot topic as de-dollarization from all kind of interests of you guys. Actually, I'm not an expert of international politics. I am some financial employees by different institutions, both in China and outside China. So today I would like to share my view about this hot topic, like has the de-dollarization began, or say how Chinese perspective of this kind of trend of the de-dollarization, the impact of this de-dollarization to the world and to Chinese. So what de-dollarization trend is good for the global market and the global economy. So please, today I would like to focus on several topics of the de-dollarization. First, I would like to discuss how the understanding, or say the global understanding of this global trend as the currency change, as the denominated dollar change to a more diversified currency service provided to different nations. And then I used to work about 10 years ago. I worked in France, in Paris, worked for French government, the Ministry of Finance investment arm, Natixis, currently calling Natixis. So from my perspective, or say from Chinese perspective, we see a rise of euro from the beginning of this century. So we better discuss what euro raise to the topic of tonight's topic about the de-dollarization, and then we move to Chinese perspective as a financial employee worker for this financial market. I would like to discuss the topic from more technical point of view of how the renminbi internationalization with the dollar trend, euro trend, and with the future picture of how many international currencies and which international currencies will be the future currency for the global market. Finally, I would like to discuss the topic from a more super power or supranational institutions of the global monetary balancing point of view, saying IMF or the World Bank, how this supranational institutions of global monetary balancing could be effectively balance the world for a better economic condition to improve the environmental trade and the financial tradings. Please turn the page, please. First of all, whether there is a trend of a de-dollarization, or say whether this hot topic reasonable, rational, or has really happened, less and less people, less and institutions are using US dollars. I'm doubting about that, because if you see the share of global reserves of the world, the world, as you see, the US dollar is not lose the space very much compared to the other major international currencies. I have been working for financial market 30 years, almost 30 years. So 30 years ago, you could see lots of main currencies, international currencies like Swiss franc, French franc, Deutsche Mark, etc. Japanese yen, Hong Kong dollar, and now you see only euro can be compatible to dollar from the central bank's official reserves point of view. In other words, the US dollar earn so much space or so much proportion from the beginning, or say from end of the last century to the current days. So the why there's a lot of discussion of the global market about the de-dollarization, or say they try to abandon dollar to use other currency as the international currencies. It is because in the recent years the euro raise, especially for the euro, you see the picture, the chart. You'll see the only compatible currency, international currency to US dollar is euro, not Japanese yen or renminbi, Chinese dollar. And by the way, if you evaluate the position of renminbi, you must evaluate Hong Kong dollar 30 years ago, 20 years ago. So renminbi is not a new currency. It is only to replace some space of Hong Kong dollar at the beginning of my career began 30 years ago. So from the global banking reserve point of view, the euro is the #1, also the only competitor to US dollar. The latest change of the global political geography, like the BRICS, the British government tried to exist the eurozone of the European Union, and the Russian Ukraine conflict. All these conflicts, whether in economy or in the financial market, or in the real war between the Russia and the Ukraine. This is why the people are trying to discuss the de-dollarization, but more like to link this trend with the political point of view. But from the financial market, we see this trend. The big reason is the rise of euro. I have been working in France from year 2003. At that time, the euro just launched, and a lot of rumors and argument whether euro is a currency can be lasted in a long term. Up to now, euro has been created, innovated 23 years, and now we see that euro has much more reputation and competitive position to the dollar. So from a professional financial investment point of view, euro raise or the euro bond is the real challenge to America, to US dollar. That's what we see why they are the major battlefield. If you like to use this battlefield of the national currency, is between euro and US dollar. There's not yet a third currency can be in the same level of the computation. Euro is to replace French franc and the Deutsche Mark 20 years ago. And now if you think about why UBS bankrupt, you can make the euro as part of the reason. There's a two international systematic banking in Switzerland, the UBS and Credit Suisse. So UBS is still there, but Credit Suisse bankrupt. It's because the position. If you calculate the percentage of global central bank reserves, you see that it's a big down of the Swiss franc in the past 30 years. So there cannot be two systematic national banks in Switzerland. This is a little bit joke, but actually is some fact of the economic effect of this kind of national currency centralized into dollar, euro, and maybe the others like Japanese yen, renminbi, and the British pound. So for my as economist, I think that the major reason for the people to discuss the de-dollarization in the new century, it is because of the risk of euro, and euro is some kind of currency you can see are more conservative about the physical conditions of the different members, and also to balance the central banks in the eurozones. Besides the euro raise, the Chinese industrialization in the past 40 years or 30 years is also a big shock to the developed countries, both in Europe and America and Japan. So if you calculate the second reason for this kind of de-dollarization trend, besides euro raise, is China's raise. Or say it's not the Chinese renminbi, it's Chinese currency, is the industrialization, or say the power, the factory, the manufacturing power raise in China to replace America, like in the current days, like the biggest manufacturer of the world. So if you say that there's a trend of the dollar it will lose more proportions of in the global currency services. The first reason, in the financial point of view, is the euro race. But in the real economy, you will see the China race. So if you have a big manufacturer power, that everybody will say China will have more ability to create its own financial influence. That means renminbi internationalization. So that I think that is what from economics point of view and from financial market point of view about this trend of de-dollarization. Van Pierre, use a very fashion word like the low key of this euro style. In the current days, there is lots of unprofessional discussion about the euro. I mean, the euro is already, as we discussed already, euro rise is the first challenge to the US dollar as a global currency. But still, euro is a very low key. So if we see that from the SWIFT is information system of the information transform system, which is most popular in the current days of the transactions between different currencies and different countries. So if you see from SWIFT point of view, you will see euro is almost in the same level, slightly lower than the US dollar. You will see this euros line is almost on the same level as the 40% or 30+% of the total payment by the value of different currencies. But you will not see a Eurozone countries or European Union. That is very complex of this Euro things, Eurozone, Europe Union, and Europe in the geography concept. But Eurozone countries or Europe Union did not or does not use euro like a currency weapon to the other trade partners or the other political conflict countries. That is why you will see a very low-key Eurozone countries as currency service. I think that's the problem is the European Union is not like a country of United States or like China or like Russia. So that's why you will see a very low-key, a very low profile of the European Central Bank about the euro's position of the payment. But still, if you look at the trend of the last 20 years after euro was born, you will see euro successfully replaced Deutsche Mark and the French franc. And Spanish economy, the Española, the Spanish economy, much benefited from this euro unified the currency. So now, if we to see the 20 years history in the past, you will see euro's unit of the currency improved quite a lot about the economy in Europe, in the European Union. So the low key of this euro profile, euro currency, is another reason I would like to point out as employee used to work for the euro expansion to the East Europe. Why there is a war of Russia and Ukraine? Some people said it is because the competition between the euro and dollar. I may say maybe not, maybe yes, but the expansion of the eurozone has really happened in the past 20 years. Please turn the page, 翻篇。京东帮我翻篇，对。好。So besides the euro race, I think that the renminbi race can be more challengeable or more disruption. Actually, the basic concept of the Chinese renminbi raising it's really complicated from a financial market point of view. You may learn there's several concepts like CIPS, CIPS of China, and the CHIPS of America, and Russia also have a SPFS. All of this is their own system of clearing. I would say every country, every nation of the currency have a clearing system, but there is a SWIFT, which is an information transmission system, transmission agency, a vendor between this clearing system to clear the transactions between among these countries. So that's why the renminbi rapid racing sometimes described as the data from the SWIFT or from the CHIPS or from the CIPS. So the CHIPS, CIPS, every system have their own statistics position to describe how renminbi is raising or whether it has been raised. So if you see the CIPS, which is a Chinese own clearing system, you will see a rapid raising of the daily transaction or daily settlement, the daily clearing amount, which in the financial point of view is to reflect the rapid raising of the Chinese economy. It is not meaning renminbi was accepted by other clearing system through the SWIFT. At the beginning, as was February of the 2022, Chinese CIPS do have some participants, somewhat huge, 1,000 something, but this is not compatible, still comparable to what American system or the CHIPS, which can cover more institutions globally. I would say that the CIPS is really someone catching the position, but not comparable to the dollar and euro. 简东翻译篇。One of the good news for Chinese renminbi's internationalization is the domestic renminbi asset management industry. There are more and more foreign institutions and foreign companies to hold Chinese financial assets, including the equities, the stock market, from stock market, bonds, from both interbank market and the exchange market, loans and the deposits. This is from the commercial banking system. So actually in China, there are more and more financial transactions of the foreign institutions in China and hold more and more Chinese assets from the securities market. That is what we see from the financial market, whether the Chinese economy more securitization or not. Which means if every financial asset holding by domestic Chinese investors, the renminbi asset will not be internationalized, which means there is no hedge and trading backward to hedge risk for the real economy and real transaction. 请弄翻篇。This chart is also describe how the derivatives, or say how the currency swaps to hedge the risk of the trading. In a short word, when a currency could be an international one, it is based on whether this currency can be used by different countries on the settlement of their trade. But if the trade cannot be hedged the FX or the foreign exchange risk, that is not an inefficient currency, which means you have to have lots of derivatives in the financial market to help the traders in the different countries to hedge the trade the currency risk. Let's use the US dollar as an example. There is a huge derivatives market for US dollar and euros, which means if you are a trader between China or Japan or Africa, you can easily find the US dollar to hedge the risk of terms in a pair rate or the different currencies, which means spot and FX swaps and currency swaps options, different derivatives of this pricing of the currency, which means interest rate and FX rate between different currencies. The good news is renminbi have a rapidly improve of the derivatives trading, but compared to euro and the dollar, the amount is still quite small. 简中分辨. So as a conclusion of what we have discussed about the de-dollarization, euro rates, and the renminbi position in this global picture, you can see dollar, euro, and renminbi are quietly help each other to make this world better. More trade, more exchange, better economy, and a bigger economy. So there are some supranational institutions created after World War II, like World Bank and IMF, International Monetary. This is so from year 2016, say 7 years ago, IMF has put renminbi into their SDR, the special drawing rights. It means that renminbi nowadays are accepted by this supranational institution, and the renminbi is part of world dollar, or say world money, to help the emerging market and other countries to hedge their risk when there is a financial crisis. But to be honest, renminbi have this position only because Chinese big, huge economic size. But as we discussed, renminbi does not have international derivatives markets, huge trading volume, liquidity to help the real economy, help the traders, the real traders, real economic traders, the commodity traders to hedge their FX risk and the interest risk. So even though nowadays renminbi are the third biggest after dollar and euro, third biggest currency, which means the Chinese economy are already has a very big proportion of this global market. But from the financial technical point of view, renminbi are not yet reflect this match to this position as the third currency of the world currency map. That's why there is some models, or say quantitative model, to evaluate the renminbi internationalization. This is interesting. The picture, the chart I used today in my presentation, all of them are from the Natixis. I used to work for this the investment bank 13 years ago. It's quite a long time. Actually, they built an index of renminbi internationalization. I think I do not fully agree, 100% agree with this this index designing, but I think this is quite valuable to help the people not from the professional financial market to understand how the financial market, how the investors, financial institutional investors, to see the renminbi rates in the past 20 years. Actually, we evaluate the renminbi in 4 perspectives. From payment, like the global trade, the global payment by SWIFT. This is reflect how renminbi are using to day-to-day payment in the real economy. That is important. But because it uses by the SWIFT, as you may know, America tried to launch some program against the Chinese race. So the SWIFT are using as a weapon to Russia. So this data may not be 100% accurate, but this can show some trend. The second perspective is investment. As we discussed before, the Central Bank of China are trying to open the financial market, domestic financial market, to the investors globally. So step by step, there are more and more international investors come to China to hold more equities like stocks and bonds and other derivatives. This is investment opening. This is important, and but this is not quite a real renminbi internationalization using by the international players. The third perspective quite important is the international reserves, which means how much renminbi is using by the different central banks globally to be to against the risk of the international settlement transaction, to protect their own economy from the financial crisis or economic crisis. So that is important. That data has come from IMF. That you see that the source of this data not from Natixis, but from the different sources. It's from IMF. So which means Chinese renminbi, how much Chinese renminbi are accepted by the different central banks. Finally, is the interesting point of view is the financing. That is more and more professional to the financial market. The financing is both the trade finance and the renminbi offshore, or the issuance by the non-residents, which means the institutional investors issue some bonds or issue some CDRs or the shares, the all kind of shares like the stocks in the US or in Europe. Like what you see that there's quite a number of big Chinese companies, listed companies, are trying to issue some CDRs in Switzerland. So that means that the trade finance and raising money by different institutions in the global market from SWIFT and from Bloomberg. This data are more inaccurate, but also to describe the trend of renminbi internationalization. This is a model. This is a model to see how much also the renminbi internationalization step can be evaluated by an index, by a easy word to expand to the market and to the people. So the result of this index is quite low. I don't want to show the index to you guys, because more valuable is how they design this model and how the financial investors think about renminbi rates, renminbi internationalization to challenge the US dollar. And the result is the renminbi is still not challengeable status to US dollar in the financial market, whether by the payment or the trade financing overboard. So that's why we have 3 steps conclusion for the de-dollarization topic. The first one is US dollar is still very strong, and it's still the number one of the nominated currency of current days, payment, investment globally, international reserves, and the financing, the over border financing. But the low key euro is really the biggest and number one only challenge to the US dollar for all the kind of usage, even for the reserves of the central banks globally. The third one is renminbi is really raising. I mean, the both from the economic point of view and the financial market. But for the financial market, if you make the renminbi dollarization more quantitatively or more specified, you will see renminbi is still far away to catch up the euro and US dollar, not only for the trade finance or the issuance of this kind of bonds and securities outside China, and also for the payment and the settlement of the different countries using renminbi. So we see a trend of the dollarization, but more from the talk, more from the discussion, but not the real happened in the past 10 years. I'm not a professional. I'm not professional to the international politics, but from the financial market, China are trying to catch up the open, its domestic financial market. But for Chinese interest, we still enjoy the current picture of more dollar, euro dominated, and the Japanese yen, British pound, Chinese renminbi are followed up, and IMF, World Bank manage the global market, and that is really good for the international economy, global economy, and international trade. Which is not China trying to break this. From my understanding, it's America trying to break this whole infrastructure, but not China. So China is, from my understanding, China is happy with in the past 20 years the increase of the global trade because of this dollar, euro, renminbi, Japanese yen, this currency services. If you say the different countries provide different currency services to their people and to their companies, and this global services of currencies are provided by IMF, World Bank, and Eurozone Central Bank, American Central Bank, and the Japanese Central Bank. So this is the G20 or G7 plus central bankers and ministry financiers, the discussion framework are comfortable for the international economy, but maybe not for the US. Qinduo, I think I'm trying to finish my sharing, and I give back to you.
Thank you, Weihong. Thank you for your wonderful speech. It's always good to hear two different views, different opinions, because right now what you hear mostly is, it gives you this impression like China and other countries are pushing for, the alternative to the US dollar. Is, as Weihong pointed out, China actually enjoy the current situation, which is dominated by the US dollar, euro, and other currencies, and also there's involvement of IMF, etc. And then next, I would give the floor to Einar to share with us his observation and his response to what Weihong has talked about in the past more than 30 minutes. Einar, please. Is your mic on?
Hi, sorry about that.
Okay.
I hope you can hear me now.
Yes.
Fascinating discussion. Very, very technical. I'm not going to disagree. Obviously, you're very well trained in this, but this issue that's being brought forward is really not to do with the renminbi. I mean, in the sense that it's not convertible. I completely agree. There's really no way to be able to use it constructively in the current transaction models around the world. But you are starting to see some pushback against this weaponization, and in two particular ways. One, outright seizures. The U.S. has done this to a number of countries, most notably Russia, $300 billion in forfeiture and seizures, just taking the money itself. And then, of course, there's SWIFT. the weaponization of that has also been used against U.S. quote enemies, and this has led to kind of a reticence around the world. Russia, China, India, EU, all have indicated that they want to have their own clearing system. They've already started them. Convertibility obviously is going to be an issue there. But these moves are really not about the yuan coming forward. It really seems to be about the U.S. kind of pushing people away. I mean, especially with the situation with Iran, when Donald Trump pulled out unilaterally from a treaty that had been signed by his predecessor and threw everything into disarray. And then on top of that, he started threatening people that if they didn't go along with U.S. sanctions, that he would, in essence, use SWIFT against them. So that would have a very chilling effect on everything, and it certainly had a chilling effect on Europe. We've seen a big decrease in terms of the dollars used. We're now down to about 58% of the worldwide trade. And some people are saying it's going to go down to 45% within the next 2-3 years. We'll have to see on that. But what I was really interested in, I'd like to hear more, is this issue about not so much de-dollarization, but what happens, what can China do to make its currency convertible, and what effect that has. I mean, obviously, there could be some strengthening of the yuan. Inflows, outflows would be much more difficult. But I want to ask this in conjunction with, if China switches to this e-currency, it seems like there would be an opportunity to much more closely track monies coming in and out. So in view of e-currency, if China does make the steps to go to convertibility, Professor, what do you anticipate the effects of that would be? Professor Weihong?
Yeah, we want to respond?
Yes. Really good question. Actually, I'm the first generation of the Chinese central bankers to, let's say, to improve the IT, the information technology in China. In China, we say e-currency, our currency. So the current renminbi is a lot of e-currency. If you travel in China, you'll see Chinese people are not using the check or the paper money. It's a lot of e-currency. But the Chinese central bank launched another digital currency several years ago, and now there's lots of news about how Chinese central bank use this new digital currency cooperated with other central banks to build another same systems like the global digital currency systems, which can be seen as another backup system of Chinese renminbi, Chinese current SIPs or Chinese current e-systems, but it's another option to say build on the Bitcoin technology, but try to avoid the risk to confuse the current global payment system. This is more technical, but actually it's really happened in the past several years. From my understanding, from an economic point of view, China do not like this kind of de-dollarization in so much rapid time. I would say, I still like the system, but this is America's government try to weaponize the dollar or weaponize the SWIFT. Fortunately, there is some Bitcoin or blockchain technology, and the FX has even FTX, the Bitcoin system cracked in US, but there's still somewhat digital currency technologies can be used for the central bankers to replace the SWIFT as an option. So what I saw is the Chinese government try to avoid this kind of replacement of the current SWIFT to a new digital currency system globally. But this can be backed up as the SWIFT for the developing countries, especially when US try to make the currency war. Like I don't like this word, but actually someone like it. If America do have a currency war, the current system can be worked. Like what I explained, the SWIFT is only a message transmission agency or transmission interface. But if you try to use other SWIFT Plus or SWIFT compatible system, the cost of transaction between the countries, between the traders, in other will be up. So that will make the economy pay more for the currency services. That's why I'm always trying to use the dollarization is a kind of supranational currency services provided all the central bankers and the IMF and World Banks. So if America want to try to break this system, the cost of the will be abandoned by the global traders and the global bankers. That's really a bad news for China. What we only do is try to build another digital currency systems to replace the current system. I mean, in the same effective level. Same effective for cost level. The system is really started running, but I think China do not want to use this, except the America break the rules. Qinduo.
Okay.
Well, I want to follow up on that a little bit, if I may. Obviously, the system is in place, but faith in the system is dwindling. So many countries are trying to figure out what the next move is. In terms of China, what would people who are watching China be looking for if, in fact, China is going to open the account and start making renminbi convertible? What steps should people be looking at?
That's why I show the Natixis model at the final page. I think the open of renminbi to international market is not a step forward. Also, you see it in a different perspectives of different mission channels. Actually, from the payment, I mean that what I said for the e-currency service solution is really for the payment. The payment is now for the discussion for negotiation with different bankers. Now have the steps. You can use a lot of the e-currency renminbi outside China smoothly most of the countries, and also the investment. See, after WTO 20 years ago, China has already opened domestic securities market. We call it QDI, QDI, QFI. So this step by step, but this is on catch the space or catch the pace of the economy growth. That's why I said from the Chinese perspective, de-dollarization is not good for China. It's too fast for the open of this capital accounts. And third one is the reserves. You see that in the past 10 years, Chinese central bank signed quite a number of money transmission agreements with different central banks, like Indonesia, like Saudi Arabia, like Qatar, many countries. This is to try to bundling this central bank reserves, but still, the central bank reserve also need to step by step to face to really have some financial crisis or financial shocks to test this system. And finally, the financing, the derivatives, the trading finance, and the issuance of the Chinese companies to the more acquisition of other countries. So from financial point of view, the renminbi capital account, or say renminbi opened up, is really a systematic job for the central bankers. Actually, I worked for both for China and for France for this kind of opening of the market to build up the overseas funds like the Belt and Road. The new Silk Road, the fund, which is the financing things, the trade finance and investment financing for the Chinese companies outside China and for the foreign companies in China. So renminbi opening is really a long way to go. Say 10 years to 20 years, that match to Chinese institutional capacities, capabilities to manage this international business. So that's another one step short for Chinese central banks. That's why I said the current situation, we build up a new system step by step. It's more for the global economy and for Chinese real economy's interest or benefits. But we still have some backup solutions, saying that we use the Bitcoin technology to build another SWIFT to replace the current SWIFT. It's not good, but as a backup.
Well, that's really my question. I mean, you've given all the reasons why it would be more beneficial for China and the world to continue on the dollar. But on the other hand, there might be a catastrophic consequences. There are, I mean, not consequences, events. For instance, the U.S. right now is facing this issue about raising the debt ceiling. It seems politically mired. Everyone says, well, they've always solved it in the past. But there's always that first time when they don't. U.S. goes into default. You have basically $42 trillion, $4 trillion in banknotes and $38 trillion in treasuries floating around out there. If there is, in fact, a run on the dollar, is that something that's going to trigger China's backup plan?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's a real possibility. I think the biggest possibility is they're still trying to use the SWIFT as a weapon to the world, not to China, because China has the biggest manufacturing power. So America is smart, not against China, but against other countries. That's a big risk. And not the assets we hold, Chinese hold in the dollar term. I don't think that's a risk. I think that's not not going to happen in the short term. But what is the big risk is the weaponize of SWIFT and the dollar to other countries like Iran and Russia, maybe in Middle East countries. That's a risk, which means the global trade and global economy will see a big risk of the growth. That is why there is some solution for the backup of the SWIFT. For China, U.S., I don't see a real conflict of this that will be happen. That's not a major risk I can see, but what we can see is the SWIFT weaponized to the other countries like Brazil and other countries, not for China, because China still is the biggest provider of the manufactured goods to the world, and by the Belt and Road program and also the RCEP, China and ASEAN countries. So I don't think the America can ban Chinese capacity of the manufacturer outside their picture. It's not their benefits. They will lose their economy. If you see the double-digit inflation in Europe and America in the past several months or even a year. That's a problem of they are trying to have a trade war between China and the direct war. So if you they would do against China, they will see 100% of inflation maybe in their country.
I know, but I mean, there's still that danger. I mean, you have situations going on with Taiwan. There are obviously red lines for China. If there is, in fact, any kind of movement there, accident, direct conflict, you could, in fact, see the U.S. trying to institute the kind of sanctions, seizures, and weaponization of SWIFT against China. And is that something that you would be worried about?
I don't think so. They will not have this SWIFT. They will harm themselves much more than China, I think.
Well, yes, but I mean, the U.S. has shown that it's willing to do a lot of self-harm. I mean, you had Secretary Yellen get up there and say, look, all this stuff we're doing, these unilateral sanctions, also, these seizures and the weaponization of SWIFT is hurting us. But, her end conclusion is we're going to continue doing it. The Biden administration came in, they had a perfect opportunity to get rid of the unilateral sanctions, especially against allies, and they didn't. So, right now, saying that everyone's going to be rational doesn't seem to be holding a lot of water. There's really no reason to be, using sanctions against other countries. But this is part of what's fueling this kind of going away from the U.S. dollar, a lack of confidence in it, this idea that at any moment it can turn on you. You don't see that.
That's why we have discussed quite a lot about the American domestic policies. I think from my understanding, America do have the big issue, domestic issue. I think they're trying to draw some sanctions. It's not really the against China. They do have their own issue. That's why you see lots of conflicts between the Federal Reserves, which is Central Bank of America, and the Ministry of Finance of America, which Yellen's issue out, because they have to balance the inflation, domestic inflation, and the influence of the U.S. dollar and the U.S. economy to the world. From the central bank point of view, they cannot have this Chinese war and the interest rate war between China and America. But from Elon's point of view, America have holding out or say lose their industries to China and to the other world. But actually, they do have some big challenge of the payment level of their own workers. So if they do want to do the President Obama's reindustrialization, the central bankers and the Ministry of Finance of America, they need to harmonize their policy and cannot make against China. If they do really want the reindustrialization, they cannot catch Chinese industries to America. That's impossible. They do not have the conditions of the payment of the workers, and they do not have the infrastructures compatible to China. So that's why they have the conflicts. And I think they are smart. The solution is not to lock the currency war to China. No, they're trying to steal the industries from Europe and from Japan, from Korea. They do not want to steal the industry from China. They cannot. They don't want.
Well, you can say they're not stealing it, but they certainly are trying to prevent Chinese access to chips, also chip-making machines, things like this. These are vital to China. China's scrambling to respond to it, but this brings into questions internationally, kind of like the seizures and SWIFT. If the U.S. is going to weaponize its economic policy against one nation, well, there's nothing stopping them from doing it against others. I mean, right now, you see, Brazil, also Argentina, large number, Middle East, all saying that they want to have currency swaps. They want to be able to do it up to the extent of their trade and things like this. But the pattern here is the global South. And perhaps a lot of middle powers represented by the BRICS, the expanding BRICS. There's another 10 countries that want to join. Do you see the BRICS as an alternative source of a monetary system that could rival the U.S.?
I don't understand. The BRICS.
Well, yeah, BRICS, Brazil, India, China, Russia, South Africa. Yeah.
BRICS. No. BRICS is really a nice mechanism for these several countries can build more link and economically and trade. But BRICS are not the framework, the mainstream of the world economy and the world financial market. Still not yet. From economic point of view, from a financial market point of view, the traders are rational to choose the most efficient way to do trade and to do the investment cross-border. So the BRICS are not still not yet the mainstream of this flowing of the money and the people and the investment and so on. Not yet. Maybe the India has more population than China, but they still have a long way to industrialize their own country. And China do have Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou, lots of developed regions. But China still have a long way to go to balance the city and the rural region, the urban region, the coast region, and the inland region. So there's a long way to go. These BRICS are not yet the system to be the mainstream, because there's a lot of other countries to follow up the US and Europe. That's why China can provide the real economy services, commodities, manufacturing goods to the world. And for the financial service, the current service, we still see the mainstream and the most effective way is by euro and dollar and the Japanese yen, the British pound, and the renminbi, IMF and World Bank. This is still the most efficient. I think if America want to break all of that, that's another question. Maybe it's too dangerous for themselves also.
Well, I want to switch gears just slightly. I mean, we're talking about monetary systems. Obviously, those are dependent on the economies themselves. The U.S. has been powerful because it's been big and economically productive, but that seems to be changing. I've noticed that if you start looking at goods and services in the United States, goods which are mostly imported from Asia have actually stayed at the same cost or gone down, whereas services, which are within those economies, whether it's healthcare, education, et cetera, those have gone up dramatically, but productivity hasn't. Do you think that the developed nations, not just the United States, because this is happening in Europe, also in Japan, do you think they're facing some sort of tertiary economic trap where their costs for services and driving their economies internally isn't matched by their productivity, resulting in a shifting of money? Are the developed countries getting weaker because they don't have the markets, growing markets and manufacturing that they used to, and they seem to have many other problems, including very low growth?
Really good question. Actually, this is a really good question. What we monitor every day. Actually, we calculate every day whether their currency value can match to the productivity in the developed countries, like in Eurozone, in British, in Great Britain, in US. My view, my calculation result is in the past 20 years. The productivity of US dollar is much more valuable or much more developed grown than the euros and the Japanese yen, which means the American technology and Wall Street, the financial services, the innovation by the Silicon Valley in America create more productivity for the dollar than the euro and the Japanese yen. I think there's two reasons. And the two results, or say the two result are matchable. The reason is the financial innovation and the modern financial services in the coast, in the West Coast and East Coast in America, make America very stronger in the past 10 years. But that brings us another problem is the split of the U.S. Society, which means the rich people are much richer, but the poor people are losing their jobs. So that's the 2 points of one coin, the two sides. For the eurozone, as I said in my presentation, because I worked for eurozone several years, the biggest benefit country is Spain. The Espanol, the Spain benefit quite a lot from euro currency unifying. So the euro's productivity are lower growth than America, but they still have their unifying of the European economy. That's why euro money as a money, they still have a very almost the same level with as US dollar as the global currency. The yen is another story, the strange country. So that's why I don't see a switch of this America euro system to a BRICS. So China is somewhat in the middle. China is trying to catch up this euro and America system. So if you use another word, it's a triangle system. The America provide the services like innovation, technology innovation, and Wall Street financial services. Euro also, but China provide the manufacturing goods and the productivities in the other phases. So in the coming 20 years, China will catch up with these financial services that make the world triangle system more stably. That may be the best solution for the whole world in the coming decades.
Well, along those lines, I mean, I hate to keep returning to this, but I understand that it would not be in China's best interest to try to supplant the U.S. There would be a lot of problems, and especially with the strengthening of the yuan and loss of jobs and industries. But doesn't it make more sense for China to try to work through a group like BRICS, not just as it is constituted now, but there are 10 countries, major countries, that want to join. A lot of them in the Middle East, Asia, also in South America, forming up this global South of middle powers. Doesn't it make more sense for China to try to work for them, because they wouldn't have to bear the burden of being this overall currency, figuring out some way to create a basket based on trade or what other formulas out there. If you were advising the government now, would you say, well, if you have to, there's emergency, the yuan is going to have to serve as the major currency, but if you have an alternative, perhaps working through a larger network like BRICS might be more appropriate and beneficial, especially to China?
Yes and no. Yes, because in this year is the 10th year of President Xi Jinping point out the One Belt, One Road solution for what you have mentioned, which means China have more partners, not only for trade but also for the more cooperative actions, such as infrastructure investment in ASEAN countries, in Middle Asia. But the progress is step by step. There's still a long way to go. not only in the money things, not only in the productivity, the production thing, but also the regulations, the different legal system. So before, if America and Europe have the stable system as triangle system, what I'm trying to hold. If with a triangle system, you have a stable legal system and regulations for the goods, services, financial market, etc. For example, Kazakhstan used the British law for the new financial zone of as regulation laws, and they have this kind of developed world laws and learning step by step. It's still a long way to go. I think for these countries, they are trying to accept more new rules benefit themselves, but not to change the world turnover one day. This is not their benefits.
Well, I want to thank you. You've answered all my questions. I really appreciate it. I'll switch over to Qinduo.
Thank you, Anna and Weihong. Thank you for your enlightening, insightful discussion, from different perspectives. And so we still have some time, if possible. Let's see if we have questions from our audience. Please, you want to turn on your mic, and if you want to ask any question, or if you want to provide any comment to what we have so far. Okay. Otherwise, probably we will call it a day. Thank you for joining us. This is a Friday evening here. It's not easy, and also right before the May Day holiday.
Yeah, so a little tough time to do
yeah, but really tough. A lot of people are probably already on their way, for their vacation.
I hope this will be recorded and replayed, because I think the information here would be of great value and insight to a lot of people who are jumping on this bandwagon that de-dollarization is going to happen within the next few months or something.
No, it's available on YouTube. It's live. And I think we are recording this, so we see if there's a way we can replay to make it available on YouTube, so people can come back and play it again. Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you, Weihong. Thank you, Anna. And
my pleasure.
Happen step by step, slowly happen. That's the best for the world.
Okay. I think you are really modest today. Being modest, and we talked not that much about the concern about the U.S. Ballooning debt. Debt problem. People probably do have concern, if exposed to US dollars, if it's too much, or whether it's safe or not. But let's save it for next time, probably.
I think we actually did cover that. He thought that there would be enough common sense within the administration and the treasuries and things like that to.
But you made a good point. That is, whether there's enough rationality now.
Well, we'll see. we only have a month to go before the wheels fall off if they don't raise the debt ceiling. So maybe we should have a chat after that.
Okay.
All right.
Good night to everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye.